An interesting project was done by GDELT, G-D-E-L-T. They looked into a week of election coverage on MSNBC, and they did a quantitative analysis on how much the candidates were mentioned, and they compared that with their polling. That's an interesting way of looking at it, because, you know, it would, in a world that made sense, that would roughly reflect the coverage that they get. I think there's an argument for parity. I also think there's maybe an argument for, I don't know, more, if not parity, then like just equitable coverage or roughly equitable coverage, give or take some points for whoever's polling higher and whoever's polling lower. But what you're about to see here is, you know, a reality that kind of verifies a lot of what we've been saying from day one. So take a look at this. Joe Biden is getting 27.6% of the coverage on MSNBC, and he's polling at 30.4%. So there's a difference of negative 2.8%. So he's just slightly underwater with how much coverage he's getting versus his polling numbers. Elizabeth Warren, it's roughly equal here. So she's getting 16.4% of the coverage, and she's polling at 16.1%. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Mayor Pete is getting 14.3% of the coverage, but he's only polling at 7.7%. So that means there's a difference of plus 6.5 points there. So he's getting a lot more coverage than he has support in the polls. What does that tell you? It tells you something I've been talking about for a long time, how certain candidates, the media is trying to pump up because they're the establishment insurance policy. Joe Biden was the original, you know, establishment OG, who they were fine with getting elected and they were backing. And then the insurance plans are Mayor Pete and Amy Klobuchar. And you see it again with Amy Klobuchar here. She's got 10.1% in the polls. No, excuse me. She's got 10.1% of the coverage, but she's only polling at 3.1%. So that's a difference of plus 7 points. So she's getting way more coverage than she has support in the polls. And then Bernie, boom, here's the big, you know, whopper in your face. Bernie Sanders is getting only 9.9% of the coverage on MSNBC. And he's polling at 21.8%. So that's a difference of negative 11.9. That's insane. Michael Bloomberg, he's getting 9% of the coverage. He only has 5% in the polls. And by the way, he totally bought that 5%. Booker is getting 3.4% of the coverage. He's polling at 2.4%. So that's a plus 1 differential. And then finally, Yang here, he's getting 2.8% of the coverage, and he's polling at 4.4%, so he's also in the red. So interestingly, Biden is in the red. I'm a little surprised by that. But the ones that were expected, Yang is in the red, but Bernie is massively in the red. So in other words, guys, what's the big takeaway here? The big takeaway is it's no longer just speculation. Remember when we said, oh my God, the establishment kind of caught on, and now their anti-Bernie trick is just ignore him. Just be totally indifferent. Just act like he doesn't exist. That's what they did. They decided, well, yes, this is probably the best way to fight back against him. I guess they caught on to the fact that every time they give him negative coverage, there's either no change in Bernie's poll numbers or it helps him. And I think the reason for that is their anti-Bernie arguments are so immensely bad that people look at it and they're like, well, that's nonsense, and then his support goes up. Well, it looks like they caught on to that, and they were like, okay, well, what if we just act like he doesn't exist? What if we just cover him as little as humanly possible? That's exactly what they're doing here. Again, negative 11.9 differential there. So he's polling way higher than the amount of coverage that he's getting. Now, there's been a weird turn in this story recently, though, because just recently, within the past week and a half, the media all of a sudden decided we're going to treat Bernie seriously. We're going to act like he definitely has a chance to win. I have no idea why they're doing this. Let me just say, I don't trust that it's just like, oh, now we're finally realizing that which has been obvious for a long time. No, I think there's something at play here. I think something's going on. I don't know what they're cooking up, but something's being cooked up. They're going to have some sort of angle which tries to take him down. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It could be as simple as the media knows that they're personally really disliked. Trump is more liked than the media is. Trump is more liked than the media is. They might realize, okay, we're not liked, so what if we started supporting Bernie? Well, then people turn on Bernie? Now, again, that's listen, tinfoil hat time, that's a little bit conspiratorial, and I freely admit that, so I don't know if that's true or not. But suffice to say, I don't think it's just like all of the media across the board randomly at the exact same time was like, oh, actually, yeah, he's got a really good chance of winning. So something creepy is going on. Again, I don't know what it is, but something creepy is going on. I mean, it's possible that they did realize that their indifferent coverage really hasn't hurt him. He's still gone up in the polls a little bit over this entire time period where the media has been indifferent to him. So I guess maybe they're just switching up the indifference approach. Whatever it is, there's no smoke-filled back room, but there is something going on here where they're pulling out all the stops to try to stop Bernie. And now we're at the point where they're at least acknowledging he definitely has a chance to win. But there, you see it for your own eyes, man. The only surprise there really is that Biden is negative 2.8 in the differential. But Mayor Pete plus 6.5 and Amy Klobuchar plus 7. Bernie negative 11.9. That clearly explains the dynamic which I've been telling you from the beginning, and now we have the data to back it up.